Hello, Dr. Rukhsan. How are you?
Yeah, I'm doing well. Great to see you here, Nilam.
Yeah, great to see you too after a very long time. It's very hard to catch you. It's like a months long waiting list to meet you. I don't know which country did you come back from recently, and where would you be flying soon?
Yeah, I think I was in Turkey in March. We were doing some legal work there for CQI Turkey, and I am planning to go back to Turkey in a month or so. In September, I'll be there again. But yeah, a few months I have been in Kashmir. It has been amazing. But I'm ready to fly again.
Oh, that's great. Then I think it was the best time to meet you because I'm also here for a short time since I am mostly based in Germany. But yeah, it's great to catch up at a very beautiful place here in Srinagar. I will believe we are in Hurdwan, right?
Yes, yes. No, surely. I think what Kashmir offers you are these very beautiful landscapes from nature, and what I'm also interested in. I think I like this idea of blending nature and the technology, the greatest from the nature and the greatest from the humans. Human and nature coming together in a nice blend.
Yeah. Definitely. And you have been working with Quantum IBM earlier, right? And was it mostly remote job that you did, or you had to travel for that?
It was mostly remote. I think at that time it was remote. My job location was in Bangalore, and yeah, it was mostly remote, but it was an amazing experience to be with IBM Quantum, because IBM Quantum is, arguably one of the best places. It's a top-notch institution, is with which any quantum scientist would love to be associated with. So it was an amazing experience to be with IBM Quantum, and I'm sure IBM Quantum is going to play a huge role in getting the quantum technologies ready for the humanity.
Yeah, that's amazing. And since you worked at Quantum IBM and now you have transitioned to CQAI as a CEO, how has this transition played a role in your life? How do you feel?
It was not shorter than a or lesser than a quantum leap for me. It was like myself, a quantum scientist, taking a quantum leap, because in IBM Quantum, I was fortunate to have a very prestigious position as there. I used to work with clients over there. It was a terrific experience at IBM, as I said. But then what happened is that I was more of a scientist, deeply immersed in technology, building technology solutions for the world, and also understanding and positioning myself strongly so that I can play a greater role by bringing quantum technology to the world. But in CQAI, my role is more of an executive role, so it is different experience for sure. For me, also, it has been a kind of a learning experience, but it has been also terrific. I think the CQAI has an amazing team. It has been great to work with them, and these young people who are very deeply aligned with CQAI and want to create an impact. So I would say this transition from a technical role, a scientist and technology role, and to going to the executive. It was quite a journey.
I would definitely agree with the fact that the growth of CQAI has been at an immense rate. It started off in Germany and in India, and now it has already expanded to Kuwait, and we are also already have operations in Turkey. So, are you planning to expand it to other countries as well, since it already has a multinational exposure in itself?
I get also very impressed by the rate at which it's growing. Uh, and we are already operationally CQIs in India. That's where it started from. And because India is also an important emerging economy, we have to be here. And but then what our role, our goal has been always to create a greater impact. That means you have to be in bigger markets and inside the bigger economies. That's what took us to Turkey, and then to Kuwait, and we're also planning to expand to other countries. Turkey is also going to be a very, very important operation center for us, because we're based out in Istanbul over there, and as they say, Istanbul is the gateway to the world. So we want to position ourselves strongly so that we can create a greater impact for humanity. And I think these countries, because Arab is in some sense gateway for us to this, Kuwait is a gateway for Arab, and then similarly Istanbul or Turkey positions us to our interfaces with Europe. But we still see there's a scope of uh, us coming from India to play our role in the way Europe will shape, or the technologies within the Europe will shape.
All right. About CQAI in general, so I have been part of it and I understand how it evolved. And from a very curious perspective, I would want to know what is the design of CQAI as an enterprise, as a business enterprise?
Yeah, good question. So CQAI, I think I want to contextualize CQAI for you, a cultural force which is going to shape the economies and also the destinies of the humanity. So if you look forward, what's going to be humanity looking like in upcoming decades, or few or within this century, 21st century, I think technology is going to be a main driving force, as I said. So from that point of view, I think CQI wanted to position itself or build an enterprise around science and technology so that it can play a greater role in shaping humanity, because behind CQAI's vision, there is an impact on the people. It's like it is asking this question: what can I do with science and technology to solve the humanity's greatest problems, which will not only include poverty and financial problems and economic problems, it will also problems like climate change, the energy problems. And I think the designers of the CQAI, they were deeply aware that there are these huge systemic problems, humanity level problems, which are begging for the solutions. And they found that maybe technology can play a role, and we have to put a collective effort. But the thing with technology is that it's a force which can shape economies and societies, and it has been doing so if we look at the last a century or more than a century. So I think that was in the vision of CQAI, that it wants to play a very important role. And speaking of 21st century, I think this is going to be the century of the technology, and there are going to be multiple technologies or technological forces which will come together and allow humanity to see or rise to the level where they can solve bigger problems which have been challenging humanity, and in some sense making them weak, which is one of them is like poverty and the wealth distribution of the world. Technology is a huge levelizer and equalizer. You can use technology, and when you are using a Apple iPhone, whether you are if you have got an access to it, it's the same iPhone for everybody. Same thing, AI, you have a democratic access to it. Everybody who is using a large language model or an open AI's large language model or a chat GPT, it doesn't matter. Maybe rich people will have a better subscription or a premium access, but you have the basic access. So in that sense, I think technology is that force which CQI wants to hinge on to play the greater impact in the society.
Mhm. Thanks. I understand the human-centric approach for the consumers, but what I really associate with as part of CQAI is the human-centric approach for the members itself. So, would you like to shed some light upon this human-centric nature of CQAI?
No, yeah, surely. I think this is the defining characteristic of CQI, and one of the top reasons why I wanted to position myself in this company, because I had more career options and I could have gone to some other places as well. But one of the attractive features which I found in CQI is too much of focus on this people-centric or human-centric approach. Even when whatever you do, whether it's from an HR point of view or whether you devise technology, you develop solutions for the people. So at the heart of the CQI, it's the people, and it also wants to, whatever it design happens, it's always centered around this question: how can it customize it to the given audience, and how do I bring this people centric approach to everything which we do at CQI? I think, as I said, it is the defining aspect of what CQI is, and going forward as well. In our vision itself, it is like playing a bigger role for the people around the globe.
Thank you, sir. And now, extension of this question and talking about your life in general, that how did you turn from a quantum scientist at IBM to a businessman? And I definitely understand that you are inclined towards the human-centric approach of CQAI. But then how did this journey take place? We want to go back in time and want to know who Dr. Rukhsan is and how did he start and how is he here as a CEO at CQAI?
Yeah, I think when I was a young man, I always wanted to pursue science and technology, more so on the science side, and that took me to research. And I think It was more of, I was a person who was very interested in, as any scientific researcher is, to understand more about the nature. But as I went on and discovered more about myself, I found that there is another half of me, which not only is an explorer, which also cares about creating an impact in the world. I would like to live in a world where my scientific research plays a role to get, humanity in a better place. So that side started getting more dominant as I was completing my research, and I also found that I have this tendency to take initiatives to do something. But this impact thing, started creating impact on my own mind, and then I started getting into this thinking, what can I do so that I can, have instant and a noticeable and a tangible impact on the world. And I understood that if you have to do that, then it is not sufficient to be on just on the science side. You have to transition from science and technology, and that's what I did when I moved, after my brief postdoctoral fellowship. I moved from academia into industry. And when I went to industry, it became clear to me that whatever work I was doing, it was having an instant applications. So let's say I was at Johnson and Johnson. I worked as a data scientist, where I developed forecasting platforms. That forecasting platform was then used in a customer application immediately. I mean, it didn't have to wait for months or years. So this is exactly what I was looking for. And then I understood, okay, in what setting, what should I do so that I can, control this impact more and create more of this impact. And I understood that you have to be in a startup to do these things, to in a startup ecosystem, and to get to this business domain. And I think that's what happened in industry. I started connecting more to the business, understanding more about the business, all various aspects of it. Fortunately, so I also got pre-seed funding, which was a good one, and it gave me a boost. I think those smaller boosters, and also my exploration that I can now use business and business enterprises to create that impact. This was very clear to me. And then when I went to IBM, I think that gave me even more confidence that I am ready to go on and get into this business settings. And I think that's what I did when I left IBM. I got into a CEO role in CQAI. And I think it was this transition. As I said, I have two parts of to me. One is more of a researcher, science and technology person, but then there's another half of me which wants to see impact all over the places around me. And business setting is business is what you do. Business is all about creating impact. And as I said earlier also, in our time, is one of the greatest ways of creating impact is you by using technology, by using technology trainings, by creating awareness around technology, and by using technology itself to create the impact. I think that's why the scientist of me had to transition into businessman of me.
Yeah, that's great. And I think you're also a testimony to the fact that the concept of being a scientist and a businessman together, it's not an alien concept. You can coexist, and it can result into something as great as this.
Yes, exactly. No, yes, I think we live in a time is when I think this combination is happening. There are people who also I took inspiration from. I think there's this famous Simons Foundation, and James Simons, he's a well-known mathematician. He's famous for Chern-Simons gauge field theory, and he has been a great inspiration for me. He was trained as a mathematician. Then he went into into the stocks and other things, into quant finance, what we call. He had a tremendous impact on me. I said, okay, well, this is a mathematician. I'm also interested in maths. I'm a physicist myself. He can then start companies. I think this happens more often. So, and I think we also have this opportunity, the scientists around the world and the technologists of the world, that you don't have to be just on the exploration side of the science. You can also get into technology and also to the business. And I would suggest it should happen more often than less.
Okay, and as an entrepreneur, you must have noticed that there is a lot of focus these days on innovation and startups. And where do you see this field emerging right now? Which direction do you see it's going in?
Yeah, first of all, I welcome this change, that there is this focus slowly building up on innovation and startups. Because first of all, I want to define a startup is that small little place where innovation happens. Startups, especially a particular genre of startups, they are designed, these spaces are designed, or these small little enterprises are designed so that you can control the innovation, you can control the products, you can understand the market and then do the innovation. So these are like small innovation hubs. First of all, why there is this focus is because there's also this shift of some sort of a power dynamic shift, where there was these developed countries, then there are other economies who also want to catch up and develop their economies and go forward. The two important examples being China and India, who are trying to shape up the economies. And you cannot, in our time is in 21st century, I don't think it's possible that you can do a big shift of economy just by agriculture, horticulture, or manufacturing alone. So technology and innovation has to play an immense role in shaping up the economies, and that's why there has to be a clear focus on building these innovation centers. And as I said, building startup is the best way of building innovation, because it's like a small space which you control, and you arrange your fundings and investments, and you are basically the master of the game. Fine. So that's why startup is important, because it allows you to develop the product, do the innovation, and cater to the market and understand the market needs. And in this small little space, you are the owner of it and you are the designer of it. So that's why there has to be a lot of focus, and I am very happy. Back in our own country, in India, there is this whole landscape is emerging. What I see happening very much is, as we go along, especially in this decade also. By the way, this decade, this 2020 to 2030, this is the quantum decade which we are living through. I see mushrooming of startups in India, but it will not get restricted in India only. It will happen in other countries. For example, I have been also connected to Turkey. I can also see from my exploration of the Turkish landscape, I see it's also heating up. And but same will happen in every country, because the highway is the startup way for every country. If economies do not adopt technology, they don't adopt innovation, they don't adopt startups, they will be taking a very dangerous path for their economy. So I think what I see in upcoming decades is there's going to be a lot of focus in on the innovation and the startups. And I was very happy also when I recently looked into there is a lot of interest in Kashmir as well. Kashmir being a very little space, and a kind of a society where I don't see too much of a technological interventions and innovations happening. But it was very welcoming and heartwarming to see even a place like Kashmir. There seems to be at least a narrative and a discussion around building startups. That's very heartwarming.
Yeah, definitely. I can also witness this online, this discussion and this initiative from people to, being part of more startups in general. And so this observation that I have had about the deep tech, that why is there more emphasis on deep tech right now? What would you say as an expert?
Mm, so yeah, I think among the in the startups, all the startups which we have to build, surely we have to build. There are different sectors within which you have to build startups, and in an economy there are different sectors. Fine, but what is very clear is that whatever sector you take, whether you take banking and finance, you take healthcare, you take education, training, I think all of us have witnessed it. If you just look at the implications which just Chat GPT had on the world and all over the different sectors, that's just the testimony to the fact how much of an impact this AI can have on various sectors. So therefore, deep tech sector is not just a separate sector like healthcare or agriculture or other thing. It's a central sector which is going to impact other sectors as well. So therefore, there has to be a lot of lot of emphasis, lot of focus on deep tech. And from the deep tech, then what will happen? It will have a downstream applications in all other domains. It's going to be the mover and the shaker of the world. So that's why in CQI as well, we were very clear about the role which deep tech is going to play. But interestingly so, in India especially, deep tech is not has not reached it to its potential. It's still in its infancy. People have now started shifting to the deep tech, and I'm very happy to see how much the keenness and the support and the initiatives which government of India has taken to make sure that the deep tech sector gets positioned properly and it is aligned with the national missions which government has, and which the way For example, India wants to become $1 trillion economy maybe by 2047. So there are these clear indications where, or the axes which is emerging from economies like India. So what will support this economic development is this deep tech sector. It's going to be very, very important sector. So that's why I think deep tech has to going to be the main focus, and it is happening so. And I think in China also, China is in some sense ahead of the game when it comes to the countries in Asia. So I think the reason, if you want to maybe rationalize why is China emerging as some sort of an economic superpower, you can trace some part of it to its to the investments they made to the deep tech sector. I mean, recently this innovation which they did about in AI, generative AI, that's a testimony, that's an evidence how much China is clear about investments, about the focus they have to have on deep tech. I think, as I said, deep tech is going to be the mover and the shaker of the industry, of the businesses, and of the economies as well. So I think we need to be, all of us need to be very, very clear. We, as I said, in some of the developing countries, it's still upcoming. We're still shaping it up, designing it, and positioning ourselves for the deep tech. But we need to focus on it, all of us, all the developing countries.
Yeah. Thank you, sir. That was well explained. And as you rightly said, that for CQAI, deep tech is central. And at CQAI, we're working particularly on AI and quantum. And would you like to explain a bit more and say that how will CQAI and how is it playing a role in this sector?
Yeah, surely. I think in the very name of CQAI, there is AI and quantum, and it's by design. Because if you look at the various technologies that are emerging, and there are a lot of things going on in technology, AI, as the public perception is, it looks like AI is the only thing which is happening. But the experts know, when you see it from a closer perspective, AI is not the only thing which is happening in the tech world. There is an even more powerful technology which is being designed and shaped as of now, which is this quantum technology. But then associated with quantum, then there is quantum communication, quantum security, which are going to play a very, very important role. And as I said, in CQAI interestingly was developed or designed by the scientists and engineers, and so they are very aware how AI and the technology and quantum technology is going to play a role. So what I see is definitely AI. We had greater developments in artificial intelligence in the form of generative AI, in the form of large language models. ChatGPT is one of those illustrious examples. But I think we have not reached the end of it. There is a lot that is going to come from AI, especially in the domain of robotics, or applying AI and then applying it into the real world, in the drones, the way we develop the drones, and the self-driving cars. It's also going to come into healthcare. There's going to be a lot of proliferation of AI. So that's one thing. I think we are very clear that AI, it's maturing as a technology. It's already started creating some commercial applications, where people are slowly, or the businesses and the enterprises of the world are slowly getting convinced about the commercial applications or the business potential which AI has. Because like as some few years back, the industry or the business adopted cloud computing, and by now cloud, most of the business are cloud native. Most of the businesses operate from the cloud platforms. I think AI has not that privilege as of now. It has not become, businesses are not like AI native as of now. But I think in coming decade or so, as more explorations, more applications will come in, and there will be this proliferation and the penetration of AI into the businesses. Slowly, it will get into the society down to the smaller levels. That will surely happen. So AI is going to be one of the important key technologies where CQI is also focused on. And one thing I want to highlight is where we see the future of AI is, and many experts have been talking about it, especially Professor Lee Kun, who is, I guess, serving as a chief scientist at Meta Research. So he has made it very clear that the future of the AI is something called a physical AI, because AI doesn't have to work only in the computers as it does when it uses the textual data. When you are using a large language model, the whole world is the text, and there's data, and everything is happening in a computer. But that's not the major application of AI. Text domain is there, but you want to use drones, or you want to use robots, you want to use driving cars. They have to explore the world. And so AI has to have a capability of understanding the world, which is like AI has to have a world model. It should understand the Newtonian dynamics. It should understand how fluids work and other things work. So that way, the future of the AI seems to be this combination of physics or a physics inspired AI, because AI should be now able to understand and absorb physics into the models. So it should be like integration of physics or natural sciences and the AI or a computer science, if we say, or the data science. That's how it should be like. And in CQAI, we're very clear about it. And our AI is physical AI. We want to integrate, because many of us come from physics background, so we have the necessary expertise to build this physical AI, which will have this world model, which I think Professor Lee Kun called it objective-driven AI, something like of that sort. But that's how where I see AI going next in this decade or so. And when it comes to quantum computing is going to shake up the economies and the world, and humanity will witness, I think, the power of the technology. I think AI, within AI, computers, internet, we got a glimpse of what technology can do for humanity. But I think it was just a tip of the iceberg. There's a lot more that's coming on its way. And in the form of the quantum applications, quantum algorithms, or quantum communications, or the security, especially in the domain of the privacy and the security, which are very critical domains, not only for the government, but as well as for private sector, and in fact for the civil society as well. So quantum is going to play a very, very important role. Then it will spread to the communications and all that. I think when quantum computing matures, let's say in the next decade or so, world is going to be a very, very different place. The question which individuals, startups, private enterprises, and the government has to ask, especially the developing countries, when the quantum as it is zenith, where do you see yourself? That's a very important question. And that is one of the central questions which we ask at CQI, not just for ourselves, but also for the humanity. Is humanity aligned in that direction where quantum computing is heading? It should not so happen that, for example, in the security domain, it may so happen that quantum security arrives and you are still using classical security. And there'll be a huge mismatch between the enterprise or the company and the world at that time. But there is a cost associated with it. If you have not adopted the newer technologies, a lot of your data will become vulnerable, and to these quantum algorithms and quantum security protocols, it can cause a severe damage. So what the world should wake up to already, and this is the clarion call from CQI as well to all of the people: wake up to the quantum reality, wake up to the fact that we are living in a quantum world, and quantum is coming. It's coming sooner than you think. So that's what CQI wants to do for everywhere where we are placed, whether it's in India or Turkey or Kuwait or wherever, or in Europe. We would like to create this awareness and get the people what's called a quantum ready, because when you are quantum ready, then only you are future ready. If you are just AI ready, then you are not future ready. That's how I would put it. And that's why in Chinar quantum AI, it's not just AI, it's quantum with AI. That's what will get us, aligned with the future.
So I understand CQAI is foundationally very futuristic in nature, and being part of CQAI, I have witnessed this across operations in India and in Turkey. And my next question would be about the offerings. What are the offerings of CQAI?
Okay, this is the most important question. And I would like you to understand that CQAI should not be taken just as a technology company, which typically people can take it, maybe a company dealing with AI and quantum. But CQI, in a broader way, should be understood as some kind of enterprise which wants to create an impact. And when you create impact, you surely have to think about the people. And there are around billions of people living on the planet. So one of the questions which we want to ask is, how do we create an impact on these people, and how do we build a people-centric approach? So there is one set of the offerings which is just about the people, and I will come to it in a moment. But there are three more quadrants. Another one is about technology. So CQI wants to be in all the emerging technologies, especially in AI, in quantum, in neuromorphic computing, in blockchain, in security, whatever emerging technologies are there which can play an important role. We want to be those technology providers and develop the expertise, develop the products and services and solutions in that quadrant. Then there's another quadrant which is about trainings. I think it should be a common sense to understand that the landscape of the world, economic landscape of the world is changing, and world is getting centered around technology, which basically means that we have to also redesign or overhaul our training system, our educational system. They need to be redesigned. The question which we ask is that what can we do? How can we offer these trainings in a new fashion, what I call as 21st century education or training, so that people get ready. They get future ready, they get aware, and they get contextualized of the opportunities and simultaneously also the challenges which they can face in 21st century. So I think that's also something which we focus on critically. And the last one is if you have to create the greatest impact on the world, we got to understand that the way you do it is not just by education and training alone, or not just by bringing people and developing products. It's basically when you develop a so-called startup ecosystem. Because what startup ecosystem does, it brings people and technology and the business and the impact together. It's one single package within which you do that thing. So there are these four quadrants. If you want to understand, if you want to summarize what CQI wants to do, it basically wants to work in those four quadrants and bring them together as well. One is like about the people, about the technology, about the trainings, and about the startup ecosystem. And that's what we have been trying to do. Regarding the people, you may be asking, what exactly do you mean by thinking about what is this people quadrant about? So the people quadrant is about, if you look at those earlier economies, they were like, if you look at the labor policies, people were just treated as some workers. Maybe you are a high level worker, low level worker. So this was like an expertise or skill carrying person is a skillful person. You would just install this person somewhere. But the approach which we take, which I think is radically different from many organizations which are taking generally, ours is this approach. We want to take human beings more holistically. We think this human being not only about the education and the skill set this person has. We also think a lot about the potential this person carrying. So which means when you apply to CQAI, we don't just look at the resume, which is just to whatever you have done in the past. We also look at what this person is capable of, and if we train this person, mold this person, transform this person, what is this person capable of? So this is this T3 scheme which we in CQAI, which talks about, it's not about training, it's about transition and the transformation. So for us, one of the most important things on a planet Earth is not just the natural resources, it's the human resource. So we believe human resources have not been used up to their utmost potential, and there's a need in 21st century, and as AI and other technologies are coming by and they're talking about automation and other things, so humans need to connect to their human core. And one of the human creative elements, the creativity, is what humans can bring forth, and you cannot derive creativity out of AI or technology. So in the age of AI, I think if there is anything which is really, really important, it is not the technology itself, it is the people. So in the domain, as we go along in the technology, the significance of the people and the humanness and the unique human capabilities, they will become even more important as compared to the earlier centuries, but maybe they were taken for granted. But now that the other things which humans were doing early on in other labor economies, in the developed world as well, a big chunk of that stuff will be taken away from humans. So they will have to ask this question, what is humanly human in me, so that I can offer it to the world. And they will get hired and they will get into the organization only by that human element, very uniquely human element, which cannot be automated, which cannot be replaced by robots. And I think the big chunk of that is the human potential of learning, understanding, and the creativity which human beings bring forth. So this we are very clear about. And I have not seen, I have also worked in organizations, I don't believe, and I have not seen it so common that people take this particular approach, unique approach to the human potential. It's not very common. And I believe so as we go along, as we get stripped off of our this usual standard human capabilities, which are like routine robotic capabilities, where we usually engage. I think humanity will wake up to this power which they have, which is this human potential or the creative potential they have. I think sooner or later we will get back to this humanness and the human potential. But in CQI, we have already started on this, the human part. So, and I think, as we said, this is very unique to CQAI, and that's why it's the top quadrant. People is the top quadrant. If you say what is central, what is the most important thing in CQAI, I would say I would not call it technology. I would call it people. So we're very uh, clear and critical about the people. So it's about the people. We want to bring this transformation to the humanity, and I believe this is that quadrant where humanity needs a big transformation and the greater impact. And this is a sector, critically ignored sector. I mean, it's very bizarre and weird that humanity has forgotten until now. The main sector which they have forgotten, it's like humanity has forgotten humanity itself. They are focused on everything other than this. They are focused on natural resources, oil, money, finance, banks, everything, apart from the humanity itself, the human potential. But as I said, in the age of AI and technology, we do not have a choice. We have to go back to this reservoir of human potential which is there. And I think in sync, what the way I see the future of the world is like this: technology and the humanity shaking their hands and coming together in a synergy which will empower us, empower the world, and lead us slowly to the greater destiny of the humanity. So that's the people part. Then the technology, as I made it very clear, our offerings are we're developing AI services, AI solutions. Then we are going to do a big play a big role in quantum space, because as I said earlier, quantum is going to be that domain which will shake up the whole world, and humanity will witness the real power of the computers and the computation. So that's another thing. And we are also building, we have teams who are building on AI services, quantum services. Then in the training sector, we want to basically redesign the whole landscape of training, because we need to connect to people with technology, and it cannot happen unless and until we have our different homegrown version of or variant of the technologies. It has to be very different. It has to be designed for the people-centric approach. People-centric training should be there. So that's our training segment, and it's not something which you so easily get across in universities. So our offerings are very, very different, and they have to be. And the final one is where we believe we can create a huge impact, is these developing startup ecosystems. And this is what we plan to do in India. We want to participate in these national missions which India is running of building startups, deep tech innovation. And same thing goes wherever we are, whichever country we are part of. We would like to play a very, very big role in these startup ecosystems. And in fact, one of the reason I see myself playing a long-term game with CQAI is because I would also like to involve myself heavily in building startups rather than just being products and technologies alone. I would not have a lot of motivation to work on one quantum product. What I would rather like to do, bring my quantum expertise to build multiple companies so that they can create simultaneously impact in sectors like education, healthcare, or economic developments, or finance, security, simultaneously. So building, if you are a one company, you build one product, or you build two products. But if you are a 10 startups, they will build simultaneously 10 products. And so we are so keen in creating an impact on the humanity and solve bigger problems. And I think humanity is so keen and waiting for these technological interventions. So I think that was more or less the summary about our offerings and what CQI is, and CQI's members. They are working very, very hard towards creating this impact.
Thank you very much, sir. You explained that very well and very beautifully, and especially the central aspect of humanity at CQAI, that puts us at a very unique position compared to any other organizations for that matter. And can I say that for CQAI, the most favorite projects are the humans who are working at CQAI and in whose lives we play a role. And my next question would be that how is the world receiving CQAI? So you've been operational in India, in Turkey, and in Kuwait as well, and the word is spreading across. And how have people been receiving it? And in particular, how have people here in Kashmir been receiving CQAI?
Okay, that's a nice one. I think here I can see there's a clear divide when we go to Turkey and Kuwait. I think Turkey, we see there's an awareness level, and the technology adoption is definitely at a higher higher level. you talk to anyone in Istanbul about quantum, either they would have already heard about quantum or they're keen to get into quantum. In Istanbul, we have very young people, the youngsters as young as 16 years old people who are very keen, and there are people who are in early, not even 20s, they're just teenagers, and they want to build startups with CQAI. This was pretty impressive to see it coming from Turkey and Istanbul, but it's not very surprising as well. But when we coming back to India and then also to Kashmir, I think the awareness levels are very less. People are centered around their own individual lives, and they do not, what they miss out, they don't see what are the larger economic trends and the global trends, or the even trends in our own country. And people are not, even the younger generation, they're not aware of what the impact these trends are going to have on their own lives. So the awareness level is less, and the technology adoption is also less. And that's why when we are in India and in Kashmir especially, our offering is like to bring the awareness. So we are more into the trainings and trying to interact with the younger students. We have been running programs. We had this Future AI program. We're now running our another foundation program, in which what we want to do is like, we want to build the first 1,000 data scientists from Kashmir. And when we go there, after first to 10, then to 50, to 100, then on and on, we go to first 1,000 data scientists from Kashmir, which are trained by CQAI. Then they can spread throughout the world or work with us or build more companies. That's the milestone which we have set for Kashmir, and we are very clear about it. And spreading to the rest of the country, we're very sure that we want to be in Bangalore, in Delhi, and in Hyderabad, and other places, the metropolitan city of. We would like to have our presence there, and especially for India, we are very clear that we would like to be the national quantum mission which India has. I think we have the capability of playing a very big role out there. So that's what we would like to do there for India. But for Kashmir, I think there's a long way to go. People have to connect to technology. They have to become, come out of those zones in which they have been, because conventional methods, which have worked maybe over the last 50 years or more in Kashmir, and in government jobs and other things, they may not work. Going forward, the job markets are going to change. Economies are going to change. There are going to be fundamental shifts which they will see. In fact, some of the ruptures are already there. People see that there's a less number of job opportunities which are available in the conventional domains. Rather, there's more so happening in the new emerging technologies. I mean, I think it will be easy to find some sort of a AI job or a prompt engineer easily, rather than if you go into the conventional zone. You want to get a government job, or you want to work in the conventional setting. So therefore, I think for those people in Kashmir, especially the younger generation, I think it should be also act as a wake up call for them. They need to adapt themselves to the new economic realities of the world. They need to wake up to those realities, and they can always come to us. We are here to support them, to lead them, to guide them, to connect them to this new economic developments, to the technological revolutions which are happening, and which are changing the whole world. In fact, this is a very, for example, this chat GPT moment, it was a moment which entire humanity witnessed, and then they participated in that. There were implications and a lot of things happened. I think Kashmir, there's a bit of a lag which is very clear there, and but there's an opportunity cost associated with this lag. If they keep continuing on this lag, they're going to miss on a very big chunk of the opportunities.
Yeah, definitely, sir. And yeah, I understand, as a commoner, I would be more on the receiving end rather than on a developing end. And there's this fear amongst people that needs to be tackled. And on that note, what would be your concluding remark for everybody here in Kashmir and abroad, that we can be developers and we can write our own narrative? How would you like to conclude in that?
So I would say CQAI is also, you can see CQAI as this bold venture. It's coming from people in the developing world, in the developing countries. We try to become bold enough to ask this question: is it like the privilege of developing technology? Does it necessarily, is it like laws of nature, just to put a developed world in this position that they only can be the owners of the technology? Or is it that you don't have to be necessarily in the developed world, you can be anywhere in the world, and connect with the technology, develop the technology, and start creating impact around you. I think China and then India is creating these examples that you don't have to be, necessarily in particular geographical zones. You can start from anywhere and start, connecting to the technology. Because as I referred to technology has this very nice feature. It is democratic access. If you anybody can learn large language models, anybody can learn AI, Python, programming. There is no like class divide over here. Anybody, any coming from anywhere, and there is no geographical divide as well. So what CQI wants to put forward, it's a kind of an invitation for all of us, especially those of us who are coming from developing countries. We should come and join the bandwagon and start building, start creating an impact, and going beyond that fear and old narratives or old economic narratives. World is shifting in a very radical manner, and here is an opportunity for us to join this call and change our lives, transform our lives, and contribute our economies and to the countries in a way which was inconceivable before.
Yeah, thank you very much, sir. I understand that CQAI is also contributing to decentralizing the AI power which is across in the world. And on top of everything, the most beautiful aspect of CQAI, the part of the vision is that how people are scared of losing jobs. Every now and then we hear people saying that AI will take the jobs. But the kind of narrative we want to put out is that we want to see the humanness in you, and we want to take you for being the human and then do AI. Dr. Rukhsan, thank you very much for this insightful conversation.
It was an absolute pleasure, Neelam.
Yeah, and I'm looking forward to more insightful conversations, but now next time in Istanbul.
Surely so.